Hello, good afternoon, viewers. Welcome to another segment of Chris Osa meeting with personalities. And today we are having a new discussion as it concerns the Edo specialist who is the governor of Edo. That was on that Shema of APC, Comrade Adam to Godwin Obaseki. Right, and he's one of those who was the commissioner of or Shomole. So he's not a person other than Honorable Barrister Washington Osifo. You are welcome. Thank you, sir. All right, in case you don't know why Honorable Washington Osifo is important in this regard, because he was a commissioner under Comrade Adams Shomole administration, and also he was the commissioner for energy, water resources, I think water resources, and today is a member elect
to ride the horse of got into power today. Unfortunately, we are faced with what we are faced with, and I'm sure we're also handling squarely by the grace of God, because Macbeth says ingratitude is worse than witchcraft, and that's exactly what we're seeing in Edo State today. Now, I was commissioner for higher education before I was deployed to the Ministry of Energy and Water Resources. I have spoken on this matter. I granted we did as commissioners, or anybody that has anything to do with the government of Adams Aliyu Shomole that didn't pass through the screening table of Godwin Obaseki, the governor of Edo State today. As a matter of fact, we had to pick quarrel with the then governor, now the national chairman of APC, Comrade Adams Aliyu Shomole, that as commissioners, you were reducing our positions, our personalities, and our offices to now subject us to the office of what could pass for them as special advisor to you. As chairman of economic team, he was at best the head of an agency. And as an agency, you could pass for a department, in our ministries. Therefore, we didn't understand the logic of subjecting us to the office of Godwin Obaseki, who will scrutinize all that we will bring, whether he knows what he was doing or not, but at least he was doing what he was doing. And I can tell you for free that although I have seen what they released, the panel released, and I have made corrections there too, that they actually didn't indict the person of the national chairman. I think it is best to say that they intended the probable consequences of their actions, which was working from the answers, to questions. Obaseki put that team together with a view to indicting Comrade Adams Aliyu Shomole. But I think when he gave them that assignment, Justice Oyo was wise enough, the chairman of the panel, when he looked through the books, and I'm sure he was looking for signatures, he never found anyone that Comrade Adams Aliyu Shomole signed. I am sure when the issue of vermin with regards to supplies of medical equipment for the Edo Specialist Hospital came up, what he saw, rather, was an extract that proceeded from the State Executive Council. I think it was 264th meeting of the Executive Council of Edo State, where we took that decision that VAMED should supply. And we approved 75%.
Yes.
In line with the purchasing, not construction.
Okay.
The law of procurement, the Procurement Act allows 25% for construction. Okay?
Yeah.
As mobilization. But with a view to when certificates, further payments will be made according to the certificate that are turned in, having been so certified by the engineering who does the monitoring and all of that. But for the purpose of supplies, they are goods you buy off the shelves. Therefore, 25% cannot, that is the law, cannot purposely purchase the items. Therefore, the law allows you. The law, I don't know why they decided to blind their eyes to the 75%. 75% is allowed for purchase by law, the same law, but they decided to play down on it and they concentrated on the construction instead of the purchase. Unfortunately, they are not the only ones who have access to that law. Let me tell you something. Comrade Adam Saliu Oshimole, like I said, was never indicted by that panel of inquiry. Rather, they indicted his government. And who are his government? Comrade Adam Saliu Oshimole was voted for in 2016, in 2008, and he assumed office as governor of Edo State. And by law, he was entitled to form his cabinet. And when he was forming his cabinet, he invited all of us and gave us appointment, and we became that cabinet pursuant to the constitutional provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The moment that was done, Godwin came in just like we came in. Although he wasn't the commissioner, but by the fiat of the Executive Council, he was allowed to come into council and assume the status of a member of council by reason of very strategic position that he had as chairman economic team and by extension economic advisor. His duty there was to sit with us, listen to us, advise us on all economic issues as they relate to our ministries and of course the government of Edo State. And that was his job for 8 years, and that was what he did. And there was nothing that passed through the nozzle of government that didn't have the attention and the permission of Godwin Obaseki. I have told him before, when he called me, when I came back from the US, he called me after our election. I said, look, you have to work with me. And he told me of the quarrels he was having with Comrade and all that. And I told him, I said, Comrade is your brother, is your friend. I do not know both of you to be anything different. So I think you just have to work with him. Settle whatever it is, I don't want to know. Just settle. I've always known you people to be friends. Continue to be friends and brothers. That's my business. For to say you want to cut my friendship, you cannot cut my friendship if you don't want to be the mass friend and all of that. So, and I reminded him when he talked about these issues, I said, look, how can you talk about screening, dealing with Comrade with regards to all that he did in government without bringing yourself into the picture? Because you, Godwin, was the one who advised him on all this. I know you will carry our file into flight and you will take them away and delay even our operations in our ministry because you sit on our files and you will not want to release it until it gets your ego eyes and all of that. I said, so let's forget about that. Face it squarely because so I was surprised when he came with this whatever he came with. And that was why I told him in my response to one of these national dealers, look, how can Godwin or his panel of inquiry lucidly say that they had indicted the government of Comrade Adam Saliu Oshimole, one of which Godwin was a senior principal member of that council, without indicting himself. And I also queried, I said, how can that be correct without also thinking that senior members of even his cabinet today, very senior members of the cabinet, were also members of that ESCO. Very many of them who are also very active in this government today, were not just members of council, they were also members of State Tenders Board, who made those recommendations, who advertised, okay, and make those recommendations of paying 75 to ESCO. It was their recommendation that we deliberated, and we found that they were merit in line with the law, of Procurement Act, and with the powers vested in us as council, then we took that decision to give out 75%. And they were also the ones, when we took that decision, who we asked to go and action it. And they actioned it and reported back to ESCO that they have actioned it. And now what I wanted to hear was that the equipment were not even supplied. Now let's even go away from the 75%. First, it is not correct that we do not have powers to award to approve 75%. We did in line with the Procurement Act. Now we have done that. I was waiting in the body to even see a line that gave us away that instead of supplying, having given that 75%, we did it with the intention to defraud the state, and the equipment were not supplied. The equipment were supplied, certified by the government of this man, Godwin, and there are certificates to that effect to prove that government supplied the goods that ordered by our government, one of which Godwin was part of. Now, don't also forget when my brother, Honorable Kabiru Adjoto, then Speaker of Edo State House Assembly, was there, they set up a similar panel, orchestrated by the same Godwin Obaseki. I don't really know what this man is looking for. And at the end of the day, yes, he's free to do whatever he wants to do, but he must be guided by the laws. And thank God for laws. You understand? Then they did. And it went through the eagle eyes of those guys who formed the members of the committee. And when it came out, they came out with a clean bill for Varment and the government of Adams Ali Oshomole, and even recommended that apart from the 75%, government was seen to be owing Varment 25% that was left to make it 100%, and directed that government should pay the remaining 25%. So they were liable to the tune of 25%. That was what was released by the Edo State House of Assembly under the Speaker Kabiru Adjoto. They were not satisfied with that. I don't know what he's looking for. Like I said, he went a step further to get this. He was looking for a willing buyer, and the justice, of course, who is supposed to live above board, agreed to do the job, and he did the job. Unfortunately for him, he was looking for the red pen of Comrade Adams Ali Oshomole as governor. What he didn't know, that perhaps he is aware now, was that when he looked at the book, when he looked at the books himself and his the members of the commission, it was difficult to indict Comrade as a person. So what they now did was to indict his government, which according to them was something close to it. In doing that, they indicted the man that gave them the job. They indicted the man that gave them the job. Pity enough, the truth is that the law, what they don't know is that as a governor, you are an individual, although it is the first seat of the first citizen, but that is not all there is to it. The law has the logic of setting up ESCO is that powers that corrupt and can absolutely corrupt absolutely should not be allowed to be exercised by one person. And that is why a body known as a state or federal executive council is set up to check and regulate the excessiveness or actions or whatever inactions of the governor. When the governor or president is in ESCO, he sits not as governor, he sits as chairman of council. He strips himself by duty of the law of that position of governor. He becomes first among equals in ESCO. Whatever the law does not permit him to do at that stage, okay, sitting as governor, then the power resides in council, and that is why the council is bigger than governor when he's sitting. How do you measure who is bigger and who is not bigger? The law says the president, the governor cannot award any contract to the tune more than 99 million. Anything above 100 million, it goes to ESCO. It means that we had the powers bigger over and above than that of the governor. And because this contract was in excess of 100 million and in billions, it has to come to us. And it came to us, the first instant, it didn't even come to us from the governor, it came to us, it was advertised through Edo State Tenders Board. The chairman of the then Tenders Board is still working with him as one of his senior personnel in his government today. The same group recommended it to us, and we approved what they recommended. They advertised. I am not saying they ran short foul of the law. No, they recommended it in line with the extant rules. And I want to tell you, when you are setting up a state tenders board, it is a composition of the procurement agency. Okay, procurement agency are members of council and relevant authorities in government that they are chosen or selected to form the state tenders board. And why is the members of the state, the procurement agency, why are they required to be there? Because they bring the knowledge of the law of the Procurement Act to bear when analyzing the contracts, right from advertisement, opening of the tenders, analyzing the tender, and recommending the best company who can best do the job. And when they are done with that, they make their recommendation of their findings to council. Who are members of council? The governor, the deputy governor, the chief of staff in attendance, the SSG in attendance, of course the commissioners, and whoever is allowed by to be there as members of council. And Godwin Obaseki, the present governor of Edo, was allowed to be member, and he advised us. And Godwin Obaseki, apart from doing that, before that tenders board even got to us, he also had meetings with them. They will go through. It is not possible. But since that was what Comrade wanted, a man he has always known, who he wanted to be his chief economic advisor. I don't make the appointment. I didn't make the appointment. Comrade did, and he foisted him on us. Okay, and on the man who dictates as governor, he makes his choice. He also appointed us. Then we subjected ourselves, to whatever Godwin was doing, even though we didn't like it and we protested to Comrade. He said we should leave it like that. Okay? If the man wanted to get a clean bill or whatever he was doing, and he believed in the expertise of a man called Godwin Obaseki, who then was his economic advisor, who were we to say otherwise? Although, unfortunately, for Comrade and for some of us, we will not and we never allowed our integrity to be dragged. We were not going to submit just to one Godwin Obaseki because he called himself an expert in economic matters. That doesn't mean that we are done. We are fools. I may not be an economic champion, but the truth is that I am trained in the art of logic. Very many of my colleagues were professionals in their own field, and by what he calls himself technocrats, by my own field as a lawyer and as political scientist, I am a double technocrat. We had lawyers, we had engineers, we had accountants, we had architects, name them. It was a bunch of great men and great women who sat together to form an ESCO, and that was why we did extremely well. And Godwin Obaseki, together with his co-travelers, indicted Mr. President also. That will also interest you. When he went to the street, he ran foul and said, Mr. President, commission an empty those specialist hospital. Mr. President came from Abuja. He didn't just stay outside to commission those projects. And if you look at the photograph, the day that project was commissioned, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, as economic advisor, was standing right behind Comrade, and the Comrade, Mr. President was cutting the tape. I was there. We went into the hospital. We saw the equipment, and Mr. President came out, commissioned the project. He was satisfied. And in that place on that day, that was where he said, you have done so well, you still have so much assignment to do for this party and this nation. We left there and we went to second Isekula to commission second Isekula, one of the finest edifices done by Comrade Adams Ali Oshomole before he took a bow. So for me, it is just to say that it's all about witch hunting. You see, it is written, do not throw stone in the market, because if you do, you wouldn't know who to hit. But in this case, he shot himself on his foot. And my recommendation to him is that, as a noble man, he should find in nobility. I don't quarrel with whatever he has said, he has found out. Okay? Although it is false, it stems from malice. Okay, fine. But as a man that has suddenly now indicted himself, the government where he served, if it were, the Western world, the most honorable thing to do would be to throw in the towel and resign. He will resign, submit himself to also be dealt with, by the law.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Washington Osifo. In all of this, because you have extensively explained from the beginning to the very end what actually occurred, how Obaseki was even in the 62nd Executive Council meeting that was held in the government house. 62nd. So it he was part of this as one of those who were actually there when the Executive Council approved for 75% payment to be made.
On the recommendation of the tenders committee board, yeah.
Okay. So how does this now? Because what I heard now that I understand that the national chairman has approached the court on this issue. I don't know if you can also let us know why the national chairman has gone to court, because what we seem to be getting from the hand of the media and now the governor is that he has gone to court to stop probe. Is there anything like probe in all of this? I'm trying to imagine. You can use your feed as a legal.
No. You see, first, the fundamental human right of fair hearing is an exclusive preserve of all of us. It is not a right that is given to us by a fellow man or even government. It is a right that is inherent. It is inherent because it is given even at birth by the Creator. Then it is not negotiable. The absence of which will immediately trigger that right to be exercised. So, Comrade Adams Ali Oshomole, the national chairman and then governor of APC presently and then governor of Edo State, that right is preserved and is reserved. I am not seized of the facts of whether he's in court or not, because God forbid that I should know everything. But one thing I know is that I will not take my information from what the handlers of Godwin Obaseki are saying. Rather, I will say what is inherent in every man, including you and I, including Comrade, and even including the Godwin Obaseki, that the right of fair hearing is not negotiable. If he decides to challenge this in court, of course, he's right, he's correct, he can do that. We wrote, all of us, about 16 of us, on national dailies yesterday, and I'm sure there's another one today and there will be another one tomorrow, where we addressed this issue lucidly to warn Godwin Obaseki, the governor of Edo State, that he can choose to be reckless with himself, but certainly not with men, of our nature, because we're all colleagues, we work together. We know the truth, he knows the truth. To skew it in ways that we give, the opposite of what is an offense not just against man but also against God, and he knows. And we have demanded that he apologizes publicly to us. Otherwise, we will seek that same our right of redress. Because if you say you have indicted our government, you have indicted everybody, I don't know what he means and what he wants in life. But we know what we want. And when somebody casts aspersion on everything we have done for this state, if there is anything going on in this state today, it was where we picked it from nowhere and we put it in somewhere. And when we were campaigning, we campaigned that this will be continuity, and that will continuity of good roads, continuity of engaging the power sector, continuity of health sector, constant and regular payment of salaries, employment generation, in agricultural drive and all of that. But at the end of the day, I tell you, apart from I had challenged him, I have been waiting. I said when we left it, the idea was that second is secular, which was the large project we did in that government. I expected that there are 3 major roads along that route. First is secular, second is secular, and third is secular. But those are federal roads. But however, I expected, since we took the middle course, which was the worst of them all, with street lights, everything on course, beautiful state-of-the-art road, I wanted a situation in turning Edo into a modern city to take first and second. If we could do second for 6 months before we left, you saw Sakumba Road, you saw Teacher's House, you saw Airport Road, you saw everything we did. We expected that now that he has been there for 3.5 years, almost rounded up in his tenure, I thought that he would have done third, okay, with the same street lights, okay, just like we did, or even first to complement it with the same street light, just like we did. A man that worked with us, that advised us, and we did all that we did, okay? Is it not clear that we had good conscience to work for our people? He was the odd man. I told people he's not as intelligent as people think. What he does was that he stays in ESCO. I can see his seat vividly, as I'm sitting down here now. Was sitting in far extreme from there, he was advising us. But I can tell you, he collates the ideas of all the commissioners, bright brains, men and women. Okay, and as a smart guy, he tries to quote it, together. And because Comrade Trusted is whatever he says, when he quotes it together, he puts it in perspective again. He delivers it in a different form, the same thing, but delivered in a different form to Comrade. And because he's the one saying it, Comrade will say, yes, this is good to go. And Comrade by doing that was rendering as if the contribution we were making was not really it. All that matters was what he was making. This is where he pains me so much. That what earned him this position, this support, he was not in the contest. Osadeoge, the present secretary to government, was in the contest. In fact, I was supporting him. Let me tell you, every assignment that is given to you, you do it with passion. You have done so well in the Ministry of Education, and people were calling him when he took me out. They were calling him, no, this is one of your best commissioners. Not be able to do that. You can't do this. And he called me and said, Washington, I didn't fire you. What I did was to send you to another ministry. You haven't done so well in this ministry. I want you to go to another ministry that is having problems so that you can help me to go and fix it. That was how I went to Energy and Water Resources. To God be the glory. It is not about the office, it is about the person. And God used us to do so much that we also did in the Ministry of Education. We replicated in the Ministry of Energy and Water Resources. So for me, Godwin never meant well for Comrade. He never meant well for Edo State. Otherwise, if he meant well, we would have seen, if it was a government of continuity, he would, as a leader and as a governor, he would have had the courage, the good conscience to ensure that the house is intact, okay, and deliver further on the dividends of democracy, just the way we handed it over to him. This is not, obviously, there is a stanza in the national in our national anthem that says that may the labor of our heroes past not be in vain. Thank God we are still alive. We can see this was not the state of our dream. Certainly not. He has shown to us that he was never with us. He has been a stranger. He came from Lagos. He does not understand the family, Edo as a family, the way we live and the way what we want. Okay? And as a matter of fact, what has happened today is that he has put the development gear of Edo into steady reverse. And we are saying, no, this can't continue. How can you say about 14 members of his party? It has never happened before that a state in Nigeria won 24/24. That was supposed to be a national pride to us. At the end of the day, today, he didn't only stop 14 members of 14 constituency being inaugurated. He also orchestrated their seat to be declared vacant. And he boasted that INEC was going to conduct another election within a few weeks of that declaration. And we told him, I granted the president, I said, no, that cannot happen. Because we are lawyers, you don't have the powers to do that. And then INEC, they have their role, they have their limits to whatever they can do. We're also hearing what he's doing now. But the truth is that God loves Edo, the people of Edo loves Edo, and Edo of our dream is to continue to be greater and greater. And we want to thank the Oba for the prayers and the traditional rulers for all that they did to ensure that he was told, to see the need to do the right thing to inaugurate the 14 of us. We want to thank Mr. President. We want to thank the National Working Committee. We want to thank the leadership of the National Assembly, both Senate and Rep, and all of that. So
before you conclude, I'm going to be asking you just one more question. Please, if you are watching our viewers, kindly do share this broadcast as you are watching, because this a platform for us to know the true happiness of the Edo specialist hospital. Because we've had lots of negative narratives from the side of the Edo State governor, and today, thank God, we have the person of Barrister Washington Osifo, who was the commissioner under the administration of Comrade Adams Oshomole. In fact, it was not just a commissioner; he had 2 ministries actually. So I believe he has a lot of insight of everything that transpired as at then when Adams Oshomole was a governor. The mayor, you have to share this broadcast. The Edo State Edo State gubernatorial election is forthcoming and is fast approaching. Yesterday we saw that the All Progressive Congress, now at the national level, they have unveiled a date for the primary election that is coming up in Edo State and Ondo State. On that note, now we have been getting they have been getting so many happenings as regard this. So I want to ask one question as concerns this primary election and the Edo State Banteria general election, because right now what we are seeing, it seems right now the wish hunts of the governor is becoming so rare and glaring to the eyes of the people of Edo State. Why now? Because it seems it's doing it because the election is so close. How does it relate? How does it relate the attack right now, the governorship election that is forthcoming?
Well, just a point of correction. He didn't just start it because the election is approaching. This has been his stock in trade. You know, this is about 11 months ago. You know, it's approaching 1 year since he stopped us from having access to the House of Assembly as members elect. So you cannot say he's doing it because that is his nature. And there's something they call nature of man. There's a presupposition when you hear that yes, a man will always exhibit his nature and nothing more. A man that is fashioned by nature to do evil can never have the capacity to do good. And a man that has the capacity, that was fashioned to do good, can never have capacity to do evil. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, what should not surprise people is that there are two sets of persons. There are some, we are all prone to errors. There are some, what they call errors of the head and errors of the heart. Errors of the head are those that are calculated, you know, to give, to cause manifest injury on others. And errors of the heart are those that you didn't intend it. When it happened, it was by mistake, and when it happened, you really feel bad about it.
Yeah.
You know, they are not genuine errors and all of that. So, Godwin Obaseki, the governor of Edo State, that is his stock in trade. He likes inflicting injuries on people. So I don't really want to speak on. I'm not contesting, you know, although he says he's contesting, and I know that there are so many other persons that are also contesting. The advice is that the party that will belong today must do everything humanly possible to get a candidate that the people will trust, that will clean or wipe the tears away from the eyes of our people, so that the party can properly be focused. We want a candidate whose certificates are not in question, are not in doubt, so that we do not repeat the issues of what happened in Bayelsa. Mr. President has advised that if you must seek, if any part of this country, every state must seek, APC must seek a candidate, then that candidate must be such that you do not have any blemish in your certificate. We have had several issues arising from how he gained admission into his university and all of that. And I'm sure the records are there before INEC, the one he submitted. There's something missing between what he got in 1973 from EGOSA, the three credits, and where the admission requirement then was supposed to be 5 credits and all of that. There is a gap between he graduated in 1973 and also entered into the institution in the same 1973. The question is that how were you able to get 5 credits, you know, the same year? Is it that you did A level or whatever? He's been silent on that. So I'm sure the thing is creating. I'm using this to put him on notice now, so that if he hears if there is anything missing or anywhere, you know, he can quickly fix it so that he can prepare himself for the primaries proper, because he remains our governor. He's our governor. Okay, he is resubmitting himself, I hear, for the next position. He wants to contest again. But the truth is that everyone that is coming, including whoever is contesting, they must ensure first that they must not bring the issue of Bayelsa. They must not repeat the issue of Bayelsa, and that is exactly what it is.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Well, I think we have we have a question online coming from the viewers, and I think we just take one from this. It says on the final notes, who set guideline for conduct of primaries for Banteria election, State Working Committee or National Working Committee?
Well, I think the person who asked, he knows. He probably just wanted to also lend some credence to what he knows. The law is clear about it. The constitution of the party is clear. It is the National Working Committee. It is the sole responsibility of the National Working Committee to set guidelines, taking advantage of the timetable that is released by INEC. INEC has no business in the party primaries.
Okay.
What they do is to set a guideline, okay, upon which all parties must run to conduct a window within which parties must conduct their primaries. The primaries can be of three, according to APC, it's three, either through direct, indirect, or a situation where all the candidates or aspirants, they just decide it's a consensus or whatever. But where consensus is not achievable, then they settle for indirect. Where indirect will do manifest injustice to the system, the most proper and most acceptable one is the direct primary. And you know, today, what is rift, or popular in APC, even the president went through it, is the direct primaries. Because the direct primaries will certainly it gives all members of APC sense of belonging. That if they voted for you, as the one who the preferred candidate for the primaries, events are that they will still rally around you for the general election, rather than a section of the party, just one or two representing themselves and no other person saying that this is who they prefer and all of that. So I think I want to leave it there. Just to answer straight, it is the sole responsibility of the NWC to fix the guidelines of the party for the primaries, conduct and make recommendation to INEC on who the candidate is.
Okay, thank you very much, Barrister Washington. In case you're just joining us, we have been talking to Honorable Barrister Washington Osifo. It was a commissioner under the administration of Comrade Adams Oshomole. We brought him here so that he'll be able to analyze to us the issues on ground as it concerns the central hospital or other specialist hospital, because we'll be having a lot of allegations from the hands of the state governments, So today I want to say we are well enlightened, and I believe if you watched all we have been saying today, you will not have that, but rather than to share so wide this broadcast that you have just listened to. All right, thank you very much, sir. We are glad to have you, and we hope and wish to have you some other time when the need arises.
COVID-19 is real, so keep safe.
Keep safe too, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, from our side, we say bye bye.